So, welcome guys. This is 17th episode of ZORYA podcast where we speak about technology which influence life of human beings, us being one of us. So this is our continuous hosts, Eugene and Yulia. And we have a guest today. Yulia, please, I'll let you introduce our guest.
Yes, we have a cool guest today, Valentin, and he has experience already working with some backend, data, and AI, some other concepts as well, so you can actually tell more about it yourself.
I've started off with software engineering and programming and all of that, and now I'm working more in the domain of cybersecurity along IAM, so identity and access management, and different solutions which then help to secure your systems, basically.
Yeah, and today we are going to talk about security and AI and innovation. That's quite a hot topic at the moment.
Yeah, very much so.
First, my question as a person passionate a bit on innovation. What do you think about innovation?
Innovation, that's a wide question. But innovation, especially in the technical field, is very, very core of technology. And it's really needed in order to continuously improve and adapt and come up with new technologies and better technology and improve everything.
It's a very wide business question, which is, especially for a technical person, it's very difficult to answer.
There is no answer, actually, a proper answer to this. So once I tried to find on Amazon any type of book on the innovation, and there were, I don't remember, about 40,000 book of innovation, more book than innovation than about Jesus Christ. Can you imagine?
Damn, that is quite the margin.
and everyone has an own opinion about this.
Yeah, of course.
So.
But what about your opinion?
Generally speaking, it's doing something better. To me, it's the easiest explanation. 10% more efficient, 20% more efficient, but doing it's basically normal process, but in more efficient way, and know how actually in how you're doing this. So this is basically if some, I don't know, advertising creates 20% more clients, probably you're doing something in in innovative way. We can definitely call it innovative way, or consuming less petroleum, or communicating cheaper, for example, with someone, shipping some product to different destinations. So and what about
very much core with improvement and efficiency.
This is, again, there are many kinds of it, but it's a different story. And what about security? We're talking about security today, and what's a primary, let's call it innovation for a couple let's call it not couple of years, but last 10 years, for example. What do you think?
That's tough to say. I think there's a lot of different things that have changed in the last 10 years with the introduction of AI, and all non-human identities is a big component that's on the rise now, and management of all those identities, because management of human identities is something that we've been doing for quite a long time, so we kind of know how to do that. But then non-human identities, there's some of the same principles that also apply there, and then there's also some other principles that might apply there. And that is a field that I think, probably in the last 10 years was also booming a lot more and has come up a lot more. And a lot of different changes have come up with.
Yeah, because also there are more problems there than ever.
Yeah, of course.
We will talk about that in a minute. And of course, you need to tackle those problems. And actually, we can share a funny story which happened just now. I was entering the podcast studio, and I wasn't the last person to enter, so I had a code. And it's like beep, 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 beep. And then I opened the door and I enter, and Valentin said, so this is how it feels when you are in a safe. Or how it feels for me to enter it, right? So I found the code and I entered. And imagine you are sitting in your safe area, and somebody can actually do the beep, 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 come in and maybe steal your bag or just whatever else, right? Yeah. And this is happening more and more and more right now. If you talk about the data that is getting stolen, etc. And one of the fun, or well, maybe not so fun, facts is that the average cost of the data breach these days is around 5.4 million, and that's talking about the Benelux region, right? So where we are from, so which is huge, and this brings us into top 3 most costly regions, actually.
I think data breaches. So both data breaches, meaning private information being publicized, as well as also systems being down, because there's different types of issues that might arise from vulnerabilities and attacks, are indeed very, very big and on the rise with all the different innovation. Because the thing with also AI is that there's securing AI models inside of the company, but then there's also all the AI innovations in order to commit attacks, basically, find vulnerabilities, and on the hacker side, basically.
Which are very successful. For example, if somebody is synthesizing your voice, right? And then suddenly your boss is calling you, asking you for something, and you cannot really distinguish, is it really your manager or not?
Deepfakes have really gone a very, very long way. Have you heard about any innovations in deepfakes and all of that, Eugene?
Well, I wanted to tell you one story, again, very personal, probably. Again, I would not recommend to any of us doing dating apps, but I had such an experience. And once, what happened to me, I don't remember what, Tinder or something like this, and the girl is messaging me, let's do in WhatsApp. Okay, let's do in the WhatsApp. And strangely, the other person only sending me only voices, and she expects also voices. And it's very strange, and he's trying to ask her, I want to hear your voice as well, and so on. And then, but I am insisted not doing any voice and so on. And actually, I read later the stories that basically even someone having a chunks of your voice, actually, they can recreate it. There is a software, Adobe is also progressing in these fields a lot. So it's much easier now to recreating your voice. And for example, in Ukraine, there are many stories now happening with, again, Russians are doing a lot of very tricky things. Not only Ukraine, but still it's a very trendy thing now. It's basically creating customizable voice. Again, it's a bit limited in a way, but it's technology allows you for 30 seconds creating very scary speech of yours. If you are asking, I need money, I somewhere, so here, please send me money, and so on. Here is an account for the money to send, and I had a case happen to colleagues of mine, and they received a call. They were on vacation somewhere. Their relatives calling them and saying, but why you calling me and asking for money? And I did not call you, so we are on vacation, we are with a family. What are you talking about? No, you're calling, you're injured and so on. You don't have money. No, we don't have it. And then the person sent them, the deep fake. Actually, it's a voice fake. I don't know what's the definition on this. But in reality, this is a consumer thing. It's something else. But where companies are hacked, when the companies tricked, this is another thing, no? What do you think? You're probably working more on the site or the company. You're protecting.
So I don't have a lot of experience on deepfakes themselves, but I have seen in different workshops and different presentations, indeed, that based on even very, very short, just voice memos or videos, you can really use AI to generate entirely fake videos of someone saying whatever they want, and that is a very, very big danger, because the issue as well with security is that no matter how complex or secure a system may be, as long as humans are able to log in onto it, which in the end is also the purpose of it, there's always going to be the risk factor of the human factor, where if the human is convinced that by someone via social engineering and so on, that they should do a certain operation, then any security measures that you have set up are going to be bypassed and useless, basically.
Yeah, for example, there is a true story where some financial professional had an online meeting with a few managers of the company or directors of the company, and all of those were faked. So that was a fake video and a fake meeting basically, but he didn't know and he couldn't distinguish, and in the end he did authorize a few financial transactions. Then that's really like on one hand you can hack a company like through having some AI agents, etc., some recurring attempts. On another hand, there is always a social engineering, and at this moment it gets like really very advanced. Yeah. So if you wanna authorize any financial operations, do the meeting face to face to make sure that this is, and you can touch the person, is it a real guy?
You know, in my past, it was about 10 years ago, I was working for a company and we were doing quality assurance. And we had, so basically what's a quality assurance? It's manual testing, so the different platforms, and you test the software, how it is on desktop, on mobile, on different platforms, iPad and different Android devices and so on. We have as well performance testing, so the system should, for example, if Black Friday is happening and the system should, the capability should allow, the code should allow basically to
handle the additional loads.
Exactly. So many people, additional people coming to the website and so on. But also there is a security testing as well, and this is basically white hat. So so black hat. It's like a hacker who do all of these bad things, and the white hat is doing the same thing, but company knows what you're trying to break and so on. And I remember that guys were so clever, so interesting to talk to every time. And the head of that, just a 4 people team, very small team. And the head of that guys, I asked him, how did you, build the team? What type of skills you were looking for? He said, it's not about technical stuff. It's actually how you think. And then when they had interview, the guys are, I think, mediocre programmers. But in terms of their thinking, in terms of their learning, in terms of, how...
finding some ways,
exactly. Exactly. This is about mindset. And this is what I learned about what this hacker means. It's about thinking differently.
Being creative to find
in a way.
There's really a specific mindset that you need to have in terms of, rationale and thinking of how you think about things in order to basically uncover different vulnerabilities or different ways in which the system might be abused or someone might attempt to abuse it. Indeed, white hat and black hat is an important component in that because, black hat are essentially unethical hackers which try to illegally, penetrate a certain system, and white hat hackers are then fighting those and are on the ethical side, and they are basically doing the same thing essentially, but with the approval of the company in order to uncover such vulnerabilities before they may be abused by malicious people.
And actually talking about penetration testing, I remember in the past we did it, like in my previous jobs we did it maybe once a year, once per half a year, but I would say even once a year on average, which today you cannot afford checking your system just once a year. Like you really cannot do that
I think
anymore.
that's also one of the changes. So you mentioned the different changes we've had since the last 10 years or so. I think that's also one of the changes with AI basically making everything so much faster nowadays. You also have to be faster on those sort of checks, and just checking it once a year is not sufficient anymore because also development is sped up so much that you also introduce so many new changes, new features, etc., that might also lead to different vulnerabilities. So you also need some sort of automated, continuous assessment of the security of your apps. This can be done via different tools, which can then observe either the source code regularly, like whenever you make a change, it checks the code to see if there's any vulnerabilities, logical vulnerabilities or so. There's also different tools that can actually observe the app after it is deployed to change, try and interact with the app and
immediately checks.
Yeah, indeed, do immediate checks and try to see how a user of the app could interact with it. There's different techniques there that you can use as well that will also...
And how you entered the field? because I think someone who is want basically be on your place in a way, or grew, or just finishing the university and want to try something in your field. How you entered the field?
It's an excellent question, actually. So I think in my case specifically, already for a very, very long time, I've known that I wanted to go into computer science in some way or form. So I think already in possibly even in primary school or early high school, I already immediately knew. So I was doing already different activities around programming, around IT support, help desks, any kind of activities like that I could find. And then also when it came to choosing a different specialization, it was also pretty easy. So we had one specialization in terms of programming, so that was kind of obvious. And then so I continued with all of that into computer science, data science, all of those, exploring as much as I could. Security itself, I think I got into that in high school when I did an internship at a company which also was doing some security, cybersecurity basically. And there I interacted with, for the first time, with the field of cybersecurity, and I really liked it. So that's kind of where this interest was started. Now, when I actually graduated, I did a master's of engineering in computer science, and I specialized in cybersecurity. But even with that, because also it's not a full master specialized in cybersecurity, so I also struggled due to that, but also in general, due to the fact that it's hard to get started in cybersecurity. I think oftentimes company already want a couple of years of experience. So as a full junior, it's quite difficult to get into, I feel like, this field. So that's also why I started first as programming. And then for my second job, where I had a bit more time to try and find a job, I tried to see if I could find a position in cybersecurity, and then thankfully I was able to find something. And
how normally it's happening? How it's normally it's happening?
I think it's like everything in life. You are it depends on the situation. How did it happen that you moved to Belgium? You don't know. I think for all the three of us, right? It's not like it was a specific plan that we executed. It just happened.
And where are you from, Valentin?
I'm from Luxembourg. So quite close by still.
I've been there a few weeks ago.
Yeah, beautiful place.
Very nice place indeed. But the thing is also with education is that it's also continuously updating, because, for example, some more senior people in my field of work, they didn't have any even general computer science studies. So they studied something else, like, for example, engineering or so, which is, in some ways the rational thinking, logic and so on might be similar, but it's not specialized at all in computer security. So new fields of studies are also being opened as time goes on. And then, ideally the most specialized studies you do, the most they are going to train you and give you the skills necessary for that specific job. But in the end, it's also that any kind of job that you do, you'll need to learn on the job itself. It's not going to be just a continuation of what you learned on the
I'm a believer in this. I'm a believer in this. Or actually, I believe in university as a place where you socialize, actually, where you mature your brain and so on. You if you are grow up just in front of the computer, you never actually know how to work with people, how to collaborate and so on. You need others. So it's now university actually for me it's a socialization place. But I'm a believer that after 1 year, for example, university, you need to practice. Actually, you need you need to have an internship and so on. Because I personally, I worked, I think when I started on bachelor program, I started working in ecological company. I think on second year of university, something like this. I just continue supporting them and so on. Just a website, some social media and so on. That was kind of first job for me. And but still, if you want something a bit more advanced, again, cybersecurity, you need to start early as much as possible. So practice matter, because in universities, I think they don't have the recent knowledge, everything what is happening, because they are focused on standards, government standards, own standards, and putting you a bit in the box.
The most recent and fresh knowledge always comes from the job, because this is where the problems happen and you need to tackle them real life. By the way, talking about the problems, what do you think is the breakout time to break into the system and get some data? How long do you think it takes from the moment then the hacker realizes, okay, now I have an access?
Depending on the system, no?
But like on average, do you think it's minutes, hours, days? What is it?
Yeah, that's very tough to say because it also always depends on the amount of time a person has, the amount of resources a person has. So it's very difficult to say, but I would definitely say, because you have to really review a website or an application very thoroughly in order to uncover different ways in which you might bypass security features. So I'd definitely say months to years.
Mm-hmm. And so apparently looking into the statistics from the moment that they get initial access, it's around half an hour. And actually even the fastest one was like half a minute. That's of course very exceptional. But that's just the world we are living in right now.
And we are not even with the quantum computers yet.
Yeah. And that's actually a very funny thing. Looking back into the very beginning of my career, so now I have more than 15 years of experience, and like very, very early days, I remember the passwords were stored as a string, as a text, and the companies, at that moment it wasn't the time for the companies to move to encryption, so that if somebody gets access to your database, they don't just have all the passwords written down, right? And so it became more and more secure. And you would think that at some point it's not interesting to steal the encrypted data, but no, actually it's still happening, like that there are hackers that are stealing the encrypted data even if they cannot decrypt it yet. Yes, because they expect, maybe in the nearest future, or with quantum computing or with something else, we'll actually still decode the data and use it.
Yeah, I've heard about that before as well, because especially with quantum computing, there's an algorithm that's called Shor's algorithm, if I'm not mistaken, which is able to essentially break the most widely used encryption algorithms that we are using nowadays. And the issue with that is that there is this formula, which is that if you want all your data to be secure, you need to make sure that also data you send now, it cannot be stored until they can decrypt it. And so there's actually a formula where especially if it takes you, because it always takes a certain amount of time for companies to move to new standards for encryption for different types of algorithms. So it takes quite a long time for that. So you need to take into account the amount of time it takes for that, as well as the amount of time it takes to come out with different new standards for encryption, etc. And all of that together means that there is quite a lot of time that you need to look in advance before quantum computers actually become usable and can decrypt the communications we are having nowadays on the internet.
Yeah. It takes lots of time to upgrade your systems or improve your encryption. And once you did it, especially if the company is big, it can take a year, I don't know, it can take a while. And then once you're done, you need to start over again because something already changed. And then you need to keep improving.
Yeah, it's a constant race between attackers and defenders. Security,
But it always been like this. Been the internet. It's in the beginning the idea was internet was just a scientist sharing very precise, very precious information, and now half of the internet is pornography.
Fair enough.
And way too much information overload as well. That we're trying to stop.
And what motivates you about this profession? Because you still keep doing this.
It's an excellent question. I'm not entirely sure. I think I really like the logic behind it. In general, for computer science, the logic is really something that appeals to me personally. And personally, the technical aspect of the work is really something I enjoy. But it's a very difficult question to answer.
And as we mentioned, it's a very creative field on both sides because, on the black hat side, they are creative with their ideas to hack something. On our side, then we're getting creative. Okay, what can we do? How can we fix problems as well? Right.
I remember that guys that you were mentioning about white hats I was working with. These guys were very hard to get American visa very hard to get.
Nobody wants a person who is that creative.
Yeah, fair enough.
They were checking this guy so crazy, so crazy.
Yeah, I guess once you work in this field, you know, you
You're
make it onto some list, then
you're on the paper. You're already on the paper.
Yeah, there are some advantages and disadvantages.
yeah, always. Yeah, it's also so interesting because also in terms of physical access, there's also penetration tests. Because penetration tests, which is in general trying to verify which vulnerabilities exist in a certain system. For example, for a specific company to try and check what possible issues there could be in their systems, is something that can be done both with the software systems, so with the application itself, but can also be done for the hardware. So like the physical access to, for example, your company office, to the servers, to the network. And there's also different attacks that can be done there and different penetration tests that can be done there. And it's quite crazy what you can find there. I have someone I know who works in that field and who has a bunch of amazing stories on that. And it's can be quite surprising what you find. For example, there's one story that I remember, which was about a vending machine being freely accessible from some hallway or general public area. And that vending machine, if you actually go behind the vending machine and you check the cables that it's connected to, you can see that there's a network cable. Now, that network cable, they tried to check what was behind that, and it turned out that it was just access to their internal network without any sort of authentication, any sort of checks to, who is basically trying to connect. And things like that are oftentimes can be forgotten. And that's also where the mindset comes in of trying to think of, this one vending machine. Is there anything interesting that could be there? So those kinds of ideas.
You would actually never expect the vending machine can be your vulnerability.
Each of us having Chinese devices, each of us, and all sorts of them. And one of my favorite devices, I wear in Fitbits and all sorts of how we call them, trackers and so on. And there was a story like 5 years ago. Then imagine US, so somewhere in US. And in the middle of nowhere, you have 500 trackers tracking everything, physical activities and so on. And from the logic perspective, in the middle of nowhere, 500 guys with excellent shape. What it means? What do you think? What it means? So basically, China was selling the devices, trackers, actually to military. Basically, not they were buying military and they were training. They were doing. I'm doing nothing, so no one knows anything about this. But you connect your, something.
Yeah,
tracker.
Internet of Things. You also connect the dots together.
Voila! It's connected to your Google account. It tracks the information somewhere. It goes somewhere. You never expect this, but they already know that. So the enemy already knows there is a military base over there, and voila.
I was actually thinking it was a gym. But no.
Yeah, same. I was also getting to that conclusion, but
but there can be more.
But in the field, but this is also to continue our logical thinking. It's this type of mindset. This is how you don't need to even to penetrate the system. You just give the device and or just leave the device. Imagine you can leave the device somewhere and some unlocked. So you just put your data, you are writing, or you can even to connect into the Wi-Fi. Imagine you're connecting Android device to Wi-Fi, local Wi-Fi. Oh, something interesting might happen.
And by the way, talking about this and about the vending machine, so usually we do have the access, the password access management or the rights access management, for employees, for example. But it's very important to manage the access not just for human beings, but also for all your, I don't know, like if you have any agents in the company that have a certain access, I don't know, anything related to your API endpoints, etc., anything that can have an access, it's very important to just have a list and manage that. And that can become really difficult because I think the non-human accesses that we have, they can be like 50 times more than the human accesses within the company.
Yeah, that's something that it seems obvious, but it's easy to forget that any kind of AI or agent or LLM or any kind of automated AI-based system also should have controlled access rights. Like you should make sure, okay, what should it have access to? And then make sure to enforce that it is not able to access anything it shouldn't access. Because then if you give it too many accesses, it's also easy to then, end up in a situation where the AI system modifies something it shouldn't, or deletes stuff it shouldn't, or breaks things it shouldn't.
Yes.
So there it's also very important, a very important component there. It's a very basic mechanism, just checking the access rights, role-based access control and all of those. It's very basic, so very fundamental. But despite that, sometimes we don't think about it because it's something new. It's AI, it's the agents, etc. So sometimes it is forgotten despite being such a basic
and that can actually happen. Like recently, my partner was writing some code with the agents for his personal project, not for his job. And he actually asked some questions, but he didn't give a task to change something. Yet the AI still went and changed the previous code. And then you are like, okay, that's what happened.
Yeah, and that's also where in AI, in security, I mean, it's one thing that is always good. It's to make sure that you can never end up in that situation. So make sure that, for example, block access to these systems which should not be affected, or make sure to block access to this. So it's always better safe than sorry, you know. So that's the general.
Indeed, better safe because you can save almost 2 million.
Indeed, especially given
the reason I say this number is because it's the average savings per breach that organizations have if they can prevent these situations.
And talking a bit about European companies, from your experience, how they are protected? What do you think? I mean, they are spending money on this or not? Or what's your opinion?
I think security of AI specifically and AI agents is something that's quite new still, because AI and agents themselves are quite new. So, and the first thing you think about when you're like, okay, I want to do an agent, I want AI, I want it to do this and that. The first thing is usually not, okay, I need to make sure it's secure. First, you try and test out different things, etc. And then security is oftentimes an afterthought. So for now, it's still a bit of a secondary thing. But that's also why different legislation are actually being created. Like there's the HRAI Act, which are being created these days in order to sort of encourage or force companies to make sure that their systems are secure in order to avoid these kinds of breaches and vulnerabilities, also for customers. And so it's something that's starting more and more, basically.
I think so. I think companies really invest money into the security right now, especially once you hear some stories about some data breach, etc., and the cost of that, right? Then you start worrying up a little bit. Or once, for example, with the AI Act, there are certain fines that, or GDPR, for example, there are certain fines that you can encounter. So then it's cheaper actually to invest in the security than to get into a problem. And I think in one of my jobs, we once had a situation when we realized that the data starts leaking, and I think we realized it's still quite fast, and I don't remember all the details because I wasn't in the IT department itself, but they stopped it. But there was something like a bot at that time. So it was still many years ago, and maybe it wasn't an agent, but even just a bot who, once he got an access, he started taking some, like downloading some stuff. And once it happens to you, then you're like, okay, now I block it and I do whatever possible to protect it. And by the way, talking about such situations, a little bit more statistics that I will drop in. So in the past, if you go to like 5 years ago, 7 years ago, from the moment that a hacker discovered the vulnerability till the moment that they actually, did something, they stole your data, it could take a couple of years. So there was still a process like, okay, here's the vulnerability, maybe I could do something about it, maybe they were creating a bot, I don't know, but it was taking some time. And it could go to a couple of years, but now from the moment when the vulnerability is discovered, it's less than a day to actually start stealing the data.
It's interesting, yeah. I was thinking about why it would take so long, but actually I could also see this because there's different goals that an attacker might be wanting to achieve with a specific vulnerability. And one of those could be, like you said, to continuously get also the new data. And there's a famous thing, which is the horse of Troy. Not sure if it translates to English.
No, it
but
translates.
there's a type of viruses like that which essentially
Trojan one. Yes.
Right. Yes. So there's there's a sort of virus that exists that tries to essentially hide themselves and then continuously get data from the system live. So
maybe
despite
little by little.
Yes, exactly. So despite no one knowing that anything is wrong, you continuously get data, and then you may be able to use that data in order to get higher objectives that you want to achieve with the attack. So that's also
and now the approach is different. You find the vulnerability, you get it right away, and you hope that in a couple of years with the quantum computing you will be able to do something with
that's
it.
a different approach as well.
A different strategy.
So what's your favorite strategy on the security or cost-efficient strategy?
But I think one of the things is to always get the fundamentals. Like I was mentioning, there's very fundamental techniques that we have known for a long time, which are not necessarily that complicated to implement, but still we don't always see them being used for new AI agents and such. So I think those are, the quick and easy wins. And then above that, it can get quite complex with the AI agents, because as AI agents come out and become more complex and gain new ideas and new innovation is made, there's, of course, innovation in terms of the attacks as well to circumvent any kind of countermeasures human do. And then it's again the game of cat and mouse, where you have to continuously sort of remain alert about what kind of attacks are discovered, what kind of new attacks exist, are created as time goes on, and to think about, okay, how would I go about fixing that specific vulnerability? And then, the attackers are going to try and find a countermeasure to that, and then you try and find a countermeasure to that, and then, so and on.
Never-ending story. But companies really get better and better in protecting themselves as well. And there are more and more companies coming up in the field of security, like Aikido. I think they became a unicorn in Belgium, right? Just because there is a demand for the security services. And now recently, Claude has Mitos, right?
Yes. Which also kind of forbidden to use or something, like something is happening.
Yes, like you would like to use Claude or maybe not. Like some companies block the access to Claude, some companies play with it. But Claude themselves, they are working on something to help with the security, right?
Yeah, but the thing is with the latest model, I believe I've heard about it, in that it is able to find new vulnerabilities by itself. So in general, for context, finding new vulnerabilities is something that's very, very hard. New vulnerabilities are generally called 0 days because it's 0 days since it was discovered. And such vulnerabilities are very, very rare, very hard to find, and very rarely found. But now with Mitos, basically, is able to find them on its own, which is a huge leap in AI. And that also means that it's going to be able to find new ones so much faster. So we also need to be able to react so much faster to new vulnerabilities being discovered. And that, indeed makes the whole game that much harder. But again, on the other side, Mitos might also be used in order to, find countermeasures for those vulnerabilities. So it's, an advantage for both parties, basically.
Well, it's all about how fast can you adapt to something new happening.
Exactly.
To you.
Do you believe in how they call this bug hunting or something? So imagine the company want to test the system, and the company create kind of competition. All the white hats that come and trying to break the system. Do you believe in this or participate in something like this?
So you're referring to bug bounty.
Exactly.
Something I've heard before, yes. I haven't participated personally to it yet. Something that indeed maybe I'll participate in the future. So for context, it's indeed, like you said, that companies essentially want to let anyone try and test their vulnerability. And so they open a bounty, a certain amount of money that they will pay to anyone that finds a vulnerability that allows them to achieve objective X or a certain type of access or a certain type of action in the system. And those bounty programs are also a long time tradition that has been going on in the cybersecurity world. And I think in general it is very useful because the point of the bounty makes it more interesting for people to actually reveal it rather than, sell it or use it in terms of black hat hacking. So I think it's very interesting, but also it's a bit of a difficult scenario field because oftentimes it can also end up in a bit of a fight between whoever finds a vulnerability and the company. For example, if they don't want to pay out a bounty or different reasons. And there it's also problematic because in the end, bug bounty relies on trust. Trust from the company that whoever finds a vulnerability will report it, and also trust from the security researchers that if they report a bug, the company will pay out the bounty. So in the end, if that trust is broken, for example, by some company not paying it out or for whatever reason, that will also set a precedent for that company / in general to be more careful, and that maybe if you then find a bug, well, should you then really release it and send it to them, or should you find another avenue to abuse it?
And there are other situations like that. I've heard stories when a certain person or a company, they found a vulnerability in some another company, and then they told them because they wanted to help out, but the company B said like, why did you do this? Like you are not authorized to test our system or do anything like that. And then it can turn into a legal case. So it's a little bit like a questionable topic, because I also believe the first company, it's not like that was their big goal to hack. It's not like the company A had a big goal to hack company B, but somehow they found the vulnerability and they wanted to help. But then you never know, like, was it help or somebody is trying to do something with you? So it's a tricky situation. But I personally believe that if you find something and you can tell the other party to help them, then I think you should.
Yeah, in general, for penetration testing and bug bounty, it's also a bit of a gray area where searching for a vulnerability or, looking around for a vulnerability in itself is not legally a problem. But if you abuse it, it's a problem. So it's a bit of a gray area. And very quickly, so penetration testing that we do as white hat hackers is also something that needs to be very strictly legally surrounded in a specific context with a specific contract between the company that does the penetration testing and the company that is being tested to ensure that the company that is being tested is not going to legally attack the company that did the penetration test if they find out something or if they just don't like what they found. So it's also something that indeed has to be, you have to be careful about in terms of legal repercussions.
Yeah. I see we have just a couple of minutes left for our podcast.
I have the only probably question. It's very minor. I think what about OWASP community or something like this? Because I remember again in Ukraine they were so active actually. And what about Benelux? What's about this part of Europe?
Maybe first question: what is OWASP community for somebody who
Yes.
doesn't know?
Don't remember what the abbreviation stands for.
But in general, again, you can Google it. So it's
basically
OWASP. Basically, the ones working with LLMs and retrieval augmented generation systems.
They started far from AI. It's basically it's a meeting. It's they have certain standards. It's white hat standards and so on. Probably I don't know.
And these are also things like for example, prompt injection in the picture. Right, so because
it's something very recent actually.
It is something we didn't mention before, but if you have an AI browser, for example, which is agentic by definition, and it can get some commands and go and do them, right? There is another vulnerability or like a risk that exists that if you get a picture, let's say it's the yellow background and the red flower on it, in the yellow background there can be a yellow text with some prompt. that will trigger the AI and say like, okay, download or save all the data. So there are so many different creative things these days that, I think the list is endless.
Yeah. So OWASP essentially is also an organism that works for the security of search applications. And I think what it's most known for is like a sort of top 10 for different types of vulnerabilities. And there is a top 10, I believe, for AI vulnerabilities as well, where prompt injection indeed is one of the items. And as time goes on, they also update it. And so it's very much a reference for the different types of vulnerabilities that can be found. And specifically for AI, it's very, very interesting as a source of reference for companies trying to find ways to secure their AI and agents.
Yeah, and maybe just the last but not the least, we were discussing like personal life examples, the corporate examples, but there are also examples like there is a war going on in Ukraine, right? And if somebody hacks your drones or your system, then the cost is actually the lives of people. So maybe to conclude that the security.
Yes, a very,
positive.
It's a very heavy conclusion. But we discussed before that each time when we are developing something or we are working on some, new agent, etc., we always start from how can I make things faster? How can I play with something? But let's keep the security in mind, maybe right away.
Yes. So thank you so much, Valentin, for coming today. Yes, and see you in the next one.
Yeah.